Can the ASUS MeMO Pad Smart 10 find a place in the increasingly crowded world of 10-inch tablets? Find out in our review. Hey everybody, I'm Chris Wook. Now when you think 10-inch tablet, you're probably thinking a full HD display, right? That isn't the case here, but is that really such a deal breaker? Actually, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Why don't we back up and start with the specs? The ASUS MeMO Pad Smart 10 runs a 1.2 GHz quad-core Tegra 3 processor, pushing a 1280 by 800 10.1-inch display. Memory-wise, it has 1 GB of RAM and 16 GB of internal storage, expandable through the microSD slot. It has a 5-megapixel rear-facing camera and 1.2 front-facing camera, and is capable of capturing 1080p video. More on that later. The MeMO Pad Smart 10 is certainly a well-constructed device with no flexing or creakiness and a generally durable, albeit plasticky feel. It was definitely designed with landscape mode in mind, and from the button layout to the branding, everything just works better in this orientation. You can use it in portrait mode, but it's clear that this wasn't the focus during the design stage. It's tricky for tablet manufacturers to nail down a perfect bezel size. Too small and your hands are all over the screen, too big and the tablet just looks funky. With the MeMO Pad Smart 10, ASUS has opted to go a little big on the bezel, which I like, but your mileage may vary. The plastic body does actually help the sound, helping the relatively small speakers push out comparatively large sound, which works well for gaming or watching videos, not so much for music. The display is probably going to be the tipping point for most people, for better or for worse. Yes, with a 10.1-inch display and a resolution of 1280 by 800, you're not looking at a particularly high pixel density, 149 pixels per inch in fact. Pixelation is definitely noticeable, especially with text and icons, with text being the worst offender. The thing is, that isn't going to matter to everyone. If you want to watch a movie on a 10-inch screen, that pixel density isn't going to be nearly as apparent as you might think. If you're going to be reading a lot of ebooks, though, you may want to look elsewhere. Otherwise, colors are fairly vivid, though the display looks a little on the washed out side when you crank the brightness above a certain level, and black levels could be better. With a Tegra 3 chipset and a comparatively small amount of pixels to push, the MeMO Pad Smart 10 isn't much of a slouch in the performance department, though it is far from the best we've seen. To start, we ran AnTuTu Benchmark 3 times in succession and averaged the scores, ending with a final score of 12,447. Next up, we ran Epic Citadel, which produced average frame rates of 46.2 frames per second in high quality mode and 49.8 frames per second in high performance mode. Also, it looked pretty. Next came real-world performance. Apps generally launched quickly, and scrolling through home screens in the app drawer was smooth, though we did notice some slowdown when scrolling through web pages or in certain apps like YouTube. Comixology appeared to work fine on the other hand. For gaming, we tested Real Racing 3, and it performed decently, though not without the occasional stutter. The ASUS MeMO Pad Smart 10 runs Android 4.1.1 Jelly Bean, and while it's not heavily skinned, it's not quite stock Android either. An update to 4.2 is said to be on the way, but though I did see 2 updates during testing, my review unit is still at 4.1.1. Included apps were generally more on the useful side of the spectrum than the useless side, which is always a pleasant surprise. Press Reader is pre-installed, for example, as is a file manager. Some other apps included App Backup, App Locker, and ASUS Studio, which is their gallery replacement. For a tablet, the included cameras are fairly decent, though nothing spectacular. Outside in nice lighting, pictures turned out fairly nice, though inside, even in fairly well-lit situations, the quality took a step down. Low-light performance definitely isn't great here. 1080p video capture was similar. While playback is occasionally choppy, the video itself looked nice enough. Basically, this isn't going to be your go-to camera, but really ask yourself, do you want to be the person who's always awkwardly holding a tablet to take photos? Battery life seemed to vary wildly with the MeMO Pad Smart 10. Watching an 80-minute standard definition movie off of the SD card one night drained the battery to 50% very quickly, while watching a longer Netflix streaming movie seemed to drain the battery less on another night. Running the AnTuTu Tester battery test left us with a score of 481, though the tablet was well and fully dead when I came back to check on it. ASUS has included power saving modes to somewhat remedy this situation, though the most aggressive power saving mode only seemed to add an hour or so at best. With the MeMO Pad Smart 10, you're basically looking at a supersized Nexus 7 with the same resolution. For some people, that's a good thing. For other people, well, not so much. If you want to spend a little more, there are better tablets out there. And if you want to spend a little less, there are cheaper tablets out there. It's kind of hard to figure out who exactly this is for. That said, it is a solid, fairly decently performing tablet. If you want to know more, or if you just like reading, there's a written companion to this video at androidauthority.com. You can find the link to the review in this video's description. We have new videos popping up all the time, so if you want to stay caught up, or if you just like subscribing to things, make sure to subscribe to our channel. I'm Chris Wook for Android Authority, and as always, thank you for watching.